Okay, this morning we're going to try and utilize just these two charts, the 2500 share bar chart, which is a send chart. And in doing so, we need to go into the studies and turn off the broadcast indicator. And in particular, we're watching the CFB band. And as you can see in our first trade, we did quite well. And it came down just within a hair's breadth of the band. That's where we had set up a limit order to exit that trade. But since that's where the band was, we thought it prudent to go ahead and take that trade. Now we're back up to the top of the band, and it looks like we really ought to be shorting this.
Order filled. Order filled.
So we're a little bit late getting in here. But the idea would be to follow the stochastic, and it would stand to reason that it would be overbought at 68.75 or better. So we'll come back and we'll reevaluate that in just a moment. Okay, it looks like we're going to hit that, but you see the problem here. At the top of that band, the premium is way down here.
Order filled.
And it looks like this can very easily turn back up. The overall trend of the premium is up. So if this turns up, this is going to shoot way higher. So taking the trade right there where the band was, and we're just trying to follow the band here. But I can see doing that in and of itself is wrought with problems. Got to be watching what the premium is doing, because this is where it tells us the band was, and we're obviously higher. Yeah, we're really better off being long in here from that low. Now, as we squeak into
Order filled.
the 70-50 range, which we just did, that looked like a better opportunity for a short. So we set up a limit order in here. And And we did that because the matrix showed that as being a very low volume area. But I don't like this. Yet we're way up here. And the slower CFB on the premium is beginning to turn. But as you can see, that's not it. The high of the morning was 73.50. Yeah, now this is making much more sense. Much more sense. Yeah, following the band by itself, not so smart. Because we're in the simulator here, but it would only make sense that we would get stopped out in real-time trading. Now we might make it to the high. Well, we will make it to the high. But let's just take a look at okay, the CMP indicates 75.75. And you can rest assured that as you get up to 75.75, which is right here, we're going to go up above that. Really, potential is quite high. That will make it even further. Because the low volume node is right at around 86.25. So this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be shorting this. Here it's easy to see that the stochastic, the slow K, is still above a slow D. We are coming down a bit. That's interesting. Let's get premium back here. Now at this high, now that makes sense. That we're liable to come down, but we haven't hit the high of the morning, so it usually doesn't do that. It's not going to turn and just start tanking. This may come down a bit, true. Yeah, this is very poorly formed. This may come down, and that band could get hit. That does make sense. But this is all very poorly formed here. we would try to get in here right as we come down to that level of the band, 68.50, 68.25. We're still dropping here on the stochastic. It's nowhere near in its oversold condition. But that's where the band says.
Order filled.
And this looks like it ought to go lower into 66.75. Yeah. Yeah, 66.75.
Order filled. Order filled.
Right in there.
Order filled.
66.25 is really where the low volume node is. So once again, the band moved. As we came down to
Order
the
filled.
low level of the stochastic at 0. So you've got to follow this. There's just no two ways about it. You got to follow it. And as you look at the premium here, again, this is very poorly formed. You don't normally want to be going long when this is way up here. And this is coming down again. Usually when this comes down and then turns up,
Order filled.
we're in a much better position. And we're looking at the this band here. This is the CFB Dynaband. This is the channel.
Order filled. Order filled.
Okay. This is going to come back down. So we just dumped these trades. Now the matrix shows a area right around 62.5 to 62.25.
Order filled. Order filled.
And what you normally want to see happen when you're working with this kind of a chart, the RSX is very accurate. And normally what we'll see happen here is this will begin to slope up before or right after we hit the low. Now the premium, on the other hand, is going to be much more accurate over here. And so that entry here made a whole lot of sense. So you see how this has just begun to turn. So it wouldn't surprise us if we come right back down to that 61.75 level.
Order filled.
All the way to 61.50. The TSC hit its maximum level on that bar.
Order filled.
Now this formation makes sense. Up, up. Haven't really started to climb yet here, but that's okay. This is more probable. This upper value area, however, and we're not looking at the overall trend. We're just following this stochastic. Okay, we're just following it and the bands. That's our overall play here. Now, here you can see that wasn't going to work. Now we got out of it. And then here and here, now that's working. Yeah, because this was all very improperly formed. But over here, much better, much better. Now, this band is dropping, but that was the high. And if the trend is up, we're going to go higher, unless the trend is shifted and we're going to go up here and bounce off of that upper channel. All right, this is a little suspect. The fractal turned $66.25 was the high. This is gonna come back on us. Okay, now we've got
Order filled.
profit target at 68.25. And we came up to the upper value area. Okay, I see what's happening here. All right, well, this might continue. Now we're still holding one contract, but we're about ready to get out of that. Yeah,
Order filled.
good. All right, so what have we learned thus far? In utilizing the bands, the formation of the premium needs to be consistent. So very interesting. This upper band on the market profile was at 69.50. The channel was at 69.75. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Order
So that
filled.
channel has some merit.
Order filled. Order filled.
And we're going to come down here. Now the stochastic is still moving up a bit. But 69.50, if we can get in there again for a short, that would even be better. But looking at where the RSX here, I went ahead and got into a quick short here, and that's working. See, we're not even turned here yet. So I'm not going to be too proud of this. We'll go ahead and get out of that if we drop just a little bit lower. But it looks like we're going to come down in the direction of the band. At the same time, we could easily go back up. Yeah, I'm not even so sure we're going to make it that far.
Order filled.
Okay, we're out. Because this is sloping up. It may be useful if you have room for it to put a, look at that. All right, let's talk about the band here. We're coming right into the band, but look at where we are on the stochastic. Got a long way to go before we hit zero. But interestingly enough, as we came down to the band, we bounced. And look at right where the premium was at that lower band. Interesting. Very interesting. So this, if the stochastic continues to move down, the chances of pushing that band lower are pretty good. And with the upper value area being at 60, I would tend to think that that's likely going to happen, because this is at 61.50. And now you can see there's a good probability that that'll happen because the premium is way up here. For this to come down to zero, it's going to push this lower. It's going to push that lower. That's where the band is. See how it's pushing the band lower? Okay. Right into the low value area, or the upper value area, pardon me. Now we're way up here. Now believe it or not, sometimes that actually works. Because that just shows a fair amount of, pardon me, fair amount of divergence on the premium. The RSX here has not yet turned. So right as it came in here and the premium was divergent, and this is moving up, well, this is moving up. That's good. That's a real properly formed entry right there. That's really good. But don't be surprised if this comes right back down. And we say that because we're really late on that entry in here. Usually we're in a much better position. Yeah, we're way up here. 2 bars, really 3 bars. So I would anticipate this will come back down. Yeah. Maybe not all the way, but it's going to retrace. What I was going to mention, and I lost my thought there, is to put a matrix alongside yours. So if you don't have this on another screen, if you don't have the matrix on another screen, you can put the matrix in just so that you can see the volume bars. So for example, you might go like this. and then form this so that all that you see is the volume bars. So you know where the low area of volume or high area of volume is. So you reformat this. Let's see here. This is Trade Station 10. Come on. There we go. So we don't need this. That's all we need. Oh, and just a little trick. If you want to get these in order, you have to go from right to left. So you click on this, 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 if that's the order that you want it to appear in. Or if you wanted this at the far right, you'd click on it first. So 1, 2, 3 changes the order. So what we would do here, oops, we'd reformat this and get it to activate. Come on. There we go. Just a little bit more dimension. So just like that. Now we can see where the volume profile puts us. All right, and we're spending a little bit more time working with the platform and showing you how to do things, because right now you can't get through to TradeStation. They're not answering their phones. So that's why we're taking a little bit more time to show you how to do a few things. All right, as we move up to this upper band, we're going to be in an overbought condition. That should be shorted. Okay, we should take a short in here.
Order filled.
Now, where are you going to do that? 6950 is the upper projected volume area. But just as you see here, what the premium was telling us, and by the way, that bar right there, all right, you wouldn't short it there. You're gonna short it right in here as this is turning. You don't want to short it right there because there's really no divergence. You've got to wait for this to be a lower high at a higher high or equal high here. Okay, it's working nicely. So the premium is turning against you. You want to have a stop up there. But it's kind of looking like this is going to turn down again. Because normally, this doesn't turn up. Okay, the second CFB. Once it comes down and hits zero, if the trend is working in your favor, this isn't going to turn, although it is right now. But it would seem more likely as the premium turns down again, this is just going to go flat. So I'm a little bit surprised this is continuing to move up. But for that reason, you definitely want to have a stop up here. Because all of this is suggesting a retracement in the fractal. Yeah.
Order filled.
Now we had a limit order up there, right at the band. The TSC hit a 90. It's much better level. This is again turning. That's good. Now, this ought to really work. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, see how if you don't have a stop up there, you better put one in. Because if the premium is turning against you, that market's going to come back up, and it could very easily go into 69.50 and push this channel even higher. But both the channel as well as the CFB Dynaband, that's what that is. CFB Dynaband was a little lower, so that actually kind of favored the idea that this was going to come down. Very good. Nice. Don't go back up. Come on, don't do that. So just a bit of an explanation as to why we said this should be shorted. Now that was your high, okay? So what does that make these? lower highs. So if we're if we're overbought at a lower high, trend is down. Looks like it's going to push higher. Look at what happened to the premium. It started to turn right as we sneaked up there, right to where that band was. Ooh, that's pretty interesting. This is a lower high. Equal high, lower high. Nice divergence.
Order filled. Order filled.
Higher. Yep.
Order
Yep.
filled.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Order filled.
All of these were limit orders. Normally we wouldn't, we would execute on this bar. See how this is continuing to move? That also is suggestive that this market's going to continue to go up higher, around to 71. This is going to turn again, and it's going to push this higher. As it's doing right now.
Order filled.
Well, all right, let me take that back. What you have to be cautious about is as this was beginning to turn, all right, it could have easily pushed this higher. So generally speaking, you're better off getting into a short trade when the RSX is above the zero line, sloping down. Now, occasionally you get this kind of a pattern. That's less likely. This is more likely. Above the zero line coming down. Now, we didn't move higher in that instance. Interesting. All right, let's go back and reanalyze this. There was the channel at 70.75. So we set a limit order up there at 70.75. And that's working to some degree. But this has got to turn. And on the next bar it will. Yeah, this is all a little bit late here. So when you see if this RSX is not keeping up with the moves, in other words, that was the high. We're 2 bars late. Reset this. Okay, go in here. It's set at 20. Let's take that down a bit. Okay, no help. Take that down further. Okay, that's a little bit better. And yeah, your curve fitting, it's true. That's what they call it. Now, just as we were mentioning here, lower high, all right? That's all short. This is a lower high too. So you want to short it. That's calling the trend what it is. Anytime you're in an overbought situation with a lower high, yeah, you want to short it because the trend is down. Now, just as this was a low and this was a lower low, okay, does it make sense that we're going to bounce off of this channel? No, it doesn't. Because if we're truly short, we should go lower than this price here. So in a very conservative way, you might exit that trade at the band, but by the same token, we're not really oversold at that level. And we're certainly not down here at 0. And look at what's happening to the premium here. You're getting these nice down premium spikes. Yeah, see, that's pushing lower. So again, that didn't make sense for this to be the low.
Order filled.
So we set a couple of
Order filled. Order filled.
limit orders down there to take profits. But that's what you would expect. See, that's not going to be the low. It's going to be lower low when you're truly over sold. And look at the volume right down here. Okay. Now that volume way down here, that's where this market's going to be thinking about. It already hit 58. Okay. So you can expect a little bit of a bounce there. But the market's going to come down. It's going to clean this area up. We're going to get more volume in here because the bell shape of the inverted bell-shaped curve demands that we generate more volume in here because you've got another area of low volume way down here. So we're going to spend a little time in here building up the volume, and then it's likely we'll push lower. Now just pay attention to the volume matrix. Now you see what's happening here. See how we're spending a little time in here and then we're pushing lower? But that will turn. All of this is indicating, yeah, we're getting ready to turn this thing. But I'm also looking at your point of control, 5150. That's way down here. But I think we're going to get a little bit of a push up before we come all the way back down to 5150. I anticipate this is going to turn. Look at where the premium is. Okay. At these lows, we're at a much higher low on the premium here. This is all beginning to slope up. This is going to shift. The fractal is going to turn. That's going to push this up. Now, does that mean that you should go long? Well, you could. You could go long in here, but it's not going to last because the overall trend is short. But this would all suggest, yeah, this is going to push higher. So if you want to take a small position and ride it back up to the upper value area, which is the only real target that you've got, because it's not likely we're going to push all the way up to 67. Not very. Now maybe we'll get another turn and this will push a little higher. Nope. There it is, 54.75. Just hit it. It's going to continue down. Well, premium is going to push this up a little bit. Now, is that a target? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that's right where the upper value area is. So as we move lower, if we go all the way into 5150, now watch this indicator here, this RSX. As we move lower, and this turns, the question is, will the low on the RSX be at a higher low than it was down here? Quite possibly. That would indicate strong reason to go long. Another point to keep in mind, look at your divergence hunter. We're way into the lower band here. The probability that the market's going to go much lower than that is pretty small, because this has already moved 1, 2, 3, better than 3 standard deviations. So you see what's happening right now? It's just what we were talking about. Okay? That's turning and that's pushing up. Now, this bar on the premium, this low bar on the premium, that's a naked bar. It's a 5-second chart. Probability is very, very high that this market will, in spite of whatever it's doing right now, is going to turn down and we're going to go lower. I mean, after all, your point of control hasn't been hit yet. Yeah, see what I mean? Now it got hit, okay? Now you might think, oh, that's a good time to go long. But wait a minute, look what happened to the premium. You went even lower on the premium. Okay? So that price has got to get tested. And it is. Now you're at a lower high. Now is where it's
Order filled.
there's a greater likelihood of being able to succeed on a long trade to get in as the premium is beginning to turn here. We're going to try to get in here.
Order filled.
Hope we're not too wrong. Now, again, I'm not looking at the
Order
overall
filled.
picture of
Order
that trend.
filled.
I'm just reading the moment.
Order filled.
And at the moment, this is all suggesting that this is going to turn. Now, one thing that's, yeah, this isn't down to zero yet. Okay. All right. I'm premature. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done this because we don't really have divergence here. All right. That really wasn't the smartest thing to do.
Order filled. Order filled. Order filled.
But it just seems to be working at the moment, which is barely. Yeah. Well, very surprising, very surprising. Okay. What I wanted to say is on the divergence hunter over here, okay, if this goes way low, what will typically happen, the market will move up, it'll come back down, and then you'll be at a higher low here. But wow, that just so happened to work. I'm a little bit surprised. Now with the stochastic here having turned, we should be able to make it up to this upper band. Although, it wouldn't surprise me if we come right back down and we get into that higher low divergence on the divergence hunter. So expect a return. It's just hard to say whether or not this is going to move all the way up. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. All right, we'll take a profit. One tick below the band at 55.50.
Order filled.
That worked. Well, how about that? Now, as this pushes higher, see where that's liable to not go? It's liable to not go much beyond this because it's low area of volume. The way I read this, and others may read it differently, but historically, no one found any value at that price. So it makes it more difficult to get any more buyers at that level because this area of low volume can be read in the sense of historically no one found value at that price. So if nobody is buying at that price, the market's going to have a hard time going higher. Now, we've still got a little ways to go on slow D here. So we may be able to push back up there. But as you see, the channel is right there at 57.75, which is, that's how this is, this works. This channel just moves according to what the price was. But you could see that doesn't make a lot of sense to go any higher than that. But to have gone up there, yes, that made sense. And right as we did, you could see, all right, you're at a lower high on the premium at that particular move. So that made sense to short that. Now, when this comes down again to 49.25, guess where this will be? This will be at a lower high on the divergence hunter. And that will then make for a much better long trade. Now, could you get into a short here?
Order
You
filled.
could.
Order filled.
Okay.
Order filled.
best to wait for the premium to turn
Order filled.
down rather than to jump in as I just did. That's not smart to do that. I jumped in to kind of point out that jumping into a trade because you think it's going to go in your favor is stupid. It really is. It's stupid. Better to be patient and wait for your indicators to tell you this is the time to move, rather than to jump in impulsively.
Order filled.
It rarely works. Now, see what's happening here? That's a much better opportunity to get in, and really back at 57.75 exactly is even more likely. Because right now, as I put in a limit order here, and while the premium was moving down at that time, what we said previously is that your better trades typically come when the RSX on the premium is above the zero line sloping down. This was below the zero line sloping down. That's risky. Now it turns out that the turn, which happened way over here, well, again, that's very risky. Now what I'm going to try to do here, unless we move all the way back up, all of these positions that I took in here, okay, that's costing me money. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump these trades.
Order
It's
filled.
going to move that bar up. Okay. Because that's my entry. Now I'm at a much safer level in here. I dumped these. Now it's got to go get all the way to 57, before I possibly lose any money. See how the premium is working now. Now as this pushes higher, right in here you see how the RSX is beginning to slope down. That's where the better trades will typically come. As I mentioned over here, real risky. This is more properly formed. I'm a little concerned, however, that the CFB is still moving up. So with this continuing to move up, this getting into a short right in there is a little, that might be tough. It may work here, but this is right. That's not so good. Okay. it looks like that's going to work. Look at the fractal. As the spoos are moving down, the fractal's still moving up. That's good. Yeah. Looks like we're safe. So, will it bounce off of 5150? That's the point of control. It typically does. But if we're in a short, well, we are in a short. The low was over here. So there could be some buyers that jump in here. That's possible, but we haven't hit the low of the morning. So it just wouldn't make sense that that's going to be the low and that all of a sudden, you know, the trend changes. Not likely. All right, we'll come back in a couple of minutes, see where we're at. All right, see right up in here, premium here was overbought, if you will, and the premium is sloping down. That's the form, okay? That's what you really want to look for. All in here. This was good, but this was sloping up. This is better because we're already at the high. But it looks like it hasn't decided to stop either. Looks like we're pushing higher. We may go even beyond
Order filled.
57.75. Okay. Now we put in another limit there, but look at where the channel is compared to where the band is. All right, let me blow this up a little bit more. Can't quite see it here. All right, the band there was at, for all practical purposes, 59. Now,
Order
there's another
filled.
thing that that's happening here, and I should just mention this. See that little V? That stands for the VWAP. The VWAP. What the heck is a VWAP? Where can I go to find that definition? We can probably go to help. And let's go to search. No help. All right, let me find where that's defined here. Okay, I was talking while I was not recording. Okay, let me repeat myself. I thought we were on record. What we had just talked about, a couple of things here. this low on the premium, right in here. That big low is a naked bar. Probability the market will return to this price is very high. But by the same token, a big bar like this on the premium often is associated with a technique called arbitrage, which will result in buyers jumping in. But at the same time, if you look at this low over here compared to this low here, right? The divergence hunter says that's divergent. You're at a higher low here. That would also suggest buyers. But the premium says, oh no, that's not the low. So yeah, you got a little bit of a reaction here, which is not surprising. But you've got to learn to read the premium because the premium doesn't lie. And this big bar, in spite of the move up, says we're coming back down. As you can see, we just did. And we're going to go lower. All right. Now, all that having been said, let's just see here. The matrix, okay, see how this matrix is real, the volume is really falling off. Now, here is where you've really got to know where is it likely that this market is going to stop. All right. Market shorted today, and you know, I think I'm going to show you this chart instead. Okay, this is the TBO-VOL workspace. Low value area is right in where we are right now, but the low of the morning in the overnight market was 41.50. Very likely we're gonna move all the way down to 41.50. Very likely we will go lower. Now, why do we say that? Let's go over here. Oh, well, all right. We've already moved 2 standard deviations, or pardon me, to the lower standard deviation mark. So that could, we could bounce. Now we didn't make it down there yesterday to the projected low value, or the projected initial balance line, but we're getting into that right now. Yeah, that's at 42.25. And 41 was the low, so yeah, that's probable. I mean, usually we're not going to move much beyond that, but the low of the morning being at 41.50. That would be a target. All right. Point of control from the previous day, right in there, at 37, in agreement with the previous day's low value area. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about a few things here. The high of the morning was at 9 o'clock. Now, while it's a little bit early to be talking about pattern of the day, If this is a green day down, right, then this is definitely not the low. But you don't know that. You don't know that. So, indeed, yes, you want to be cautious about holding it much beyond 41.50 because that's the low of the morning. At the same time, this could go even lower. So what's going to help you to make the right decision? Well, let's go back into the workspace. Okay, see what's happening here? It's already starting to move up again. Premium is at a high here. This is going to turn down. This needs to come down. This hasn't hit 0 yet. Nevertheless, we could move up back into this area around 49. This moves up, comes back down. Yeah, we're not at the low. But looking at the matrix here, see what it's doing here? It's going to move up, try to generate more volume, because what you really want to see happen on a this volume matrix is you get a nice bell-shaped, inverted bell-shaped curve. And to do that, we've got to generate more volume in here so that as we get down here, the volume begins to tail off. And that's what it does. It retraces and repairs, as I call it, the volume chart. So yeah, don't be fooled. That's just, that retracement here doesn't change the trend. It's very useful to study this. And we talk about that in our training. Study how to identify overbought and oversold areas on the volume matrix. Now, what I'm going to choose to do here, because we've been at this for almost an hour and a half, I'm going to go ahead and pull the trade. And we're just writing with 3 contracts in here. But that's what it's done, okay? On just this trade alone. So I'm going to pull the trade. And let's see where this is at. $43.75. Okay. Now, very likely, yeah, see where the premium is right here? As this turns down, that's going to push this down further. We're not quite ready to turn yet. Yeah, look at the band up here. Band, sometimes you can't see the band. That's what I don't like about this. Okay, band's at 47, 47 and a quarter. It's up here. This is already turning though. It may turn up again. Okay, we're just going to take it at 43.75. Now, a safer move would be to just take profits at 44 because we've been there several times. But we're setting it up at 43.75 and it's going to hit it. Look at where this is.
Order filled.
There we go. So we dumped the trade right there just because I wanted to. But that was only because we've been at this for an hour and a half and I wanted to be done with this video. So what did we learn? Trading with the CFB channel as well as the bands works really very nicely. And we all we did is we just followed a 2500 share bar chart in conjunction with the premium here. We took this is the RSI pivot chart, okay? And we just combined the two. We put the volume matrix here just so that on one screen you could follow this. And that worked out really quite nicely. Now, how did we do? Well, let's just show you the status bar. $85.74. I guess that's not too bad. All right, we're not going to gloat. All right, so there's another little approach that you can take, and that works pretty well. So hopefully you learned something by watching this video. So there's all sorts of different ways to trade, as you can obviously see. And the idea is just get familiar with your indicators. We adjust our charts really frequently. That's only because I'm never quite satisfied with everything that I see, and so I'll make adjustments. And you will too. Don't feel like you've got to stick with just whatever we've provided. Modify things, learn, and you'll do quite well. All right, that completes our video for the morning. I'm Rod Kusin, Spooman for Risk.